Hello friends, I am Neeraj. Welcome to the new episode of Jwt project. In the previous session, we had worked on the register functionality. In this session, we are going to work on the login functionality. So login using JWT is basically a two-step process because JWT or just any token-based authentication. So that is going to be a two-step process, and that is a little different than that of the regular session-driven authentication. So the two steps are: first, we need to check the user in the database for the given user credential. So whether the user and the password is matched or not. And if that is okay, so then we need to create the tokens so that our clients like React or just anything, so they can consume it. So these are the two steps. And first of all, so let us work on the so that we can check the user in our database. So let's do that. So we will create a variable of form data of type form data. So this is just this. This is what with this variable we are simply going to bind the posted form into the struct, and very quickly we will bind it. So c dot should bind and form data. Okay, and we will check if error is not nil, then we will log a error message. So say form binding error. And we will also return immediately so that our client can do their own stuff. So we will say c.json, and we are going to return a 400, a bad request, and return object and return. Okay. So this part is done that very simply. So we are just we have collected the form data in our form data variable. Now we need to check the email ID in our database. So for that we are going to, first of all, so we also need to create a variable user, and that would be of type model.user, and we will initiate a database query dbcon, and we will use the first method of GOM. So we will pass on the variable user here, and we also need to provide a condition because we are not going to match against the ID field. So the condition would be email, and it would be form data dot email. So whatever the user has submitted. So this way we will get the, if the email ID is found, so we will get the user object in this user variable. And now we first, before matching the checking the password, so we should also need to check if the user object really returned or not. I mean, this email exists in our database or not. So we can do it very quickly. So we will check if user dot id equals 0. That means user object, this email doesn't exist in our database. So we will say return message, and we will return a nice message so that our client can handle it, and we will say user not found. Okay, and also we will say c.json, again a 400 byte request, and we will return and return. Okay, so this part is done. So if we get the user object, then we need to validate the password. So I'm just putting a comment here, validate password. And validating password is very easy. So again, we will use the same bcrypt package. So what we used for hashing the password, so we will use the same one. So we will first of all say and bcrypt bcrypt, and this bcrypt package has a function called compare hash and password. So what it does is it takes on the hashed password what we are having in our database, and the plain password we have to supply whatever the user has provided. So it will return if there is any error, so it will return an error, otherwise it will return nil. So first of all, so as a first parameter, so we will need to provide the user.password, and the second one, so we will need to provide the plain password whatever the user has submitted, and we will check for any error. If error is not nil, that means the password doesn't match, so we are also going to log as well, log.println, and we will say invalid password, and we will also return the proper error message to our client as well. So we will say return object, and the message would be, let's say, password doesn't match, and c.json, and this time we are going to return a 401 unauthorized, and the return object and return. So that way, so looks like we have completed the first step. So first let's test it. So we will save it. So here has started, and we can also check in our database. So we are having this much user, so we can test any one of them. So we will use this one to test. So I am starting my Thunder client. So in a state of, yes, this is a login request, and if the user ID is right and the password is right, so if we send it, so we are getting it something. Why something went wrong? Okay, okay, one moment. So we need to update this message as well, because by default we have made it the status as empty one, and the message is something went wrong. So that is why, so we got that message. So we are going to say user authenticated, and our status should be okay, capital, so capital okay, caps okay. So again, let's test it. So this time we are getting user authenticated, and if we change the any random email ID that doesn't exist in our database, so let's test it. So we are getting user not found because this email ID doesn't exist in our database. So this is working, and also try to change an invalid password. So let's see. So this time we are in the log also we are getting the invalid password, and here also we are getting the 401 status code with the proper error messages. So this way, like we have completed the first step to authenticate the user. I mean to validate the email ID, user's ID, and the user's password against our database. And next we will need to create the token. So creating token is a little it will take some longer time, and if we try to complete it in this session, so the video could be a longer one. So I think like that would be better so that we can create the token in a next session. So that's all for this session, and if you have anything to say, so please do let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you in some other sessions. So till then, take care and happy coding.